Take us round.
Bringing it down in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Prometheus has landed.
Good morning. I am Meredith Vickers, and it's my job to make sure you do yours. Okay, then. On with the show.
This is Fantasy Picks Movie Edition. I am your host with the most, Robert Mota, and joining me on my journey of, I don't know, what we call trying to fix a movie or trying to be movie executives or something like that. You know, we think
armchair executives.
Armchair executives, like we know better, right? So my co-hosts today are Frank Rodriguez. How's it going, bud?
Good.
Awesome. I know Frank for so long now. It's amazing.
Next year is 40 years.
Next year. You know what? You said that in the last podcast, and then I started thinking, and I'm like, I think it's more.
No, it was 84.
Was it really?
Yeah, I didn't start high school till 84.
Okay.
And I graduated in 87.
We both did. But okay, so wait a minute. Okay. I mean, I guess that's what it is, but I thought it was longer. I could be wrong. Well, it is what it is. Yeah. So Frank Rodriguez joining us here today. And then, of course, I got Mark Kirkman from Adrenaline Cinemas and Panels to Pixels. How's it going,
Howdy.
Mark?
Yeah, I'm doing great.
Awesome. So I was we were just talking before we started about that I went to see the Marvels. And for anybody who's out there, I'm not going to do any kind of spoilers or anything. Here's what I would say. Have an open mind.
Check it out for yourself.
Check it out for yourselves. I was not a fan of it, but I would say, you know what? Go check it out and you let us know what you think about it. I think it made our list. Definitely.
But I will find out come tomorrow morning when I go to a matinee.
I was going to see it today, but my wife had a thing, so.
Oh, okay. So no, I would say that, yeah, I think it made it on our list. The one thing I would say to everybody out there is don't think Marvel is done. Remember, they gave us 10 years of amazing movies. I think they got I think they kind of lost their way after Endgame, or more like after what was it, Spider-Man? No,
Far From Home.
Far From Home. And from that point on, things just kind of got derailed. And I think that I commend them for trying to say, hey, you know what? We got to go back to who we were. And I'm going to give them a chance on that. Warner Brothers, on the other hand, they just been fucking shit up since, from almost the beginning. I don't have any even though it's James Gunn, I don't have any kind of hopes on that shit. But that's just me. Yeah, I'm gonna have to sit there and be surprised and go, "Oh wow!"
He might surprise the shit out of us because look at what he's already done.
Yeah, but he also likes to backpedal a lot. So, because he was like, "Oh well, the Flash is gonna be the jumping point where things change," and then all of a sudden the Flash failed, and he goes, "Yeah, no, the Flash wasn't part of my universe." And then and then all of a sudden the same thing with Blue Beetle. I was like, Blue Beetle's where it's gonna, it's really gonna start. That shit failed. And he goes, oh no, that's not gonna happen either. So it's like, dude. So it's like if it succeeds, you're happy about it, but if it doesn't, no. And the last one coming out is Aquaman.
Well, you have to also realize too, those movies were in production before he took the head title.
Right.
So he's got to play the typical political way of saying it. I got to promote it, back it, and if it doesn't do well, I could step two steps back and say,
Hollywood.
I wasn't in charge at that time.
Yeah, no, exactly. But I think what he should have done is said, listen, these take place in the Snyderverse.
Yes.
Then there's going to be the new universe that we put in.
Mm-hmm.
And then what Warner Brothers should have done, because if they fucking did it for Justice League, is just put a little bit of time, just a little bit of money into the Flash. And what they should have done is say, hey, something happened where now all of a sudden we lead into his universe. Right? But they didn't do that. They led into the George Clooney universe.
Right.
So this is why I'm kind of like, oh, okay. And they just didn't do that. And then, of course, Aquaman's coming out. And, of course, I've heard terrible things about that. So
Same here.
I'm still going to go see it because, it's like anything else. Sometimes you look at a train wreck and you can't get your eyes off of it because you want to see
the bodies
and the main the body parts and all that stuff. Even though you should be looking away, you're like, no, but I got to see more.
It's like Reddit.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So, but it's kind of interesting on that front there, and things that I would say that I'm looking forward to, I would say that's out on the horizon would be so Monarch is coming out on the 17th. And so I'm looking forward to that. I think it's gonna be good.
Yep.
And Invincible started. Have you guys seen any Invincible? I thought it was actually pretty good.
We just started covering it on Pounds Pixels. Jamie and I are covering that, and I did very well. The first episode came out. I thought it was done very well. The second one I just watched again for the second time to follow up because she and I are going to record again, and it's right on pace. So we only get 4 episodes this season.
Really?
So, that sucks.
Yeah, just 4 episodes.
Wow, that's
just giving them all to us then.
Huh.
So,
okay.
It was done during the pandemic. You have to realize that. You have to factor into with all the obstacles that we got with the WGA strikes. We got the actor strikes for SAG-AFTRA. They're dealing with what they had, and they wanted to put something in their back pocket just in case. And they held out a long way. That's either A, they realized all these strikes were going to happen. We're going to need some content in between in the interim.
Right.
But they've already been greenlit for a 3rd season. So we'll probably get more episodes come the 3rd season.
Okay. Well, I mean, so far so good on that. And, something I just saw, which was absolutely freaking phenomenal. Blue Eye Samurai on Netflix.
Yes, you mentioned it and I watched it all.
Yeah.
Amazing. What did you think about it?
I thought it was fantastic.
It is, right? I mean, it's just, at the time that I saw it, it had a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's how good it was. I was like, wow, that's really, really good. So, but so if anybody could catch that, definitely do that. That's actually, Netflix had a few good things there that came out. Another one was called Bodies, which is actually based on a comic book. But it's a British sci-fi limited series, and turned out to be pretty good on that. And there's a few other things that have come out. I just saw The Killer with Michael Fassbender, who is, of course, in the movie that we are going to talk about today. So, segue to do a segue into that. But before we do that, just make sure that you guys out there, you can always, if you can subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whichever podcast app of your choice. And we would love to hear from you. Email us at fantasypicksmovieedition@gmail.com and let us know what you think. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and all those social media places. So you can find us there. On the Facebook groups and all that stuff, we always put polls and, or you can have any discussions you want there. So we're always there. So just look us up and let us know what you think. But moving on to this movie. So the movie we're talking about today is Prometheus, which is supposed to be a prequel to the Alien franchise. So Prometheus was actually directed and written by Ridley Scott. Was it? No, hold on. Was it written by Ridley Scott? No, it wasn't written by Ridley Scott. No.
Damon Lindelof.
It was Damon Lindelof.
and John Spates. Right.
Yeah.
So, but it was
Spates,
directed by Ridley Scott and actually produced by Ridley Scott too.
Correct.
So, and it starts Naomi Rapace. Is how you say her name. Michael Fassbender, Guy Pearce, Idris Elba, Logan Marshall Green, and Charlize Theron, and a whole cast of other very good actors, actually, I would say. So this was distributed by 20th Century Fox, of course, and this was released in 2012. In Paris, it was released in April, in the United Kingdom in June 1st, and then here on June 8th on 2012. And if you all remember, I think wasn't 2012 supposed to be the end of the world?
According to the Mayan calendar.
According to the Mayan calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this movie runs 124 minutes. And this movie, the budget on this movie was 120 to 130 million. It made $403 million, which, it recovered its money, I would say, but it wasn't the hit that people thought.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is, so in case you guys haven't seen it, first of all, there's going to be spoilers.
Yes.
Right. So that's something I never say in this podcast, because if you come to my podcast, there's always spoilers. I'm always going to say it. There's always spoilers. I don't even need to warn you guys. There's always spoilers. I'm doing a review.
But we are.
But we are. So, but I'm going to have Frank take it away on our synopsis for this movie. Frank, do your thing.
Got it. Prometheus, directed by Ridley Scott and released in 2012, is a visually stunning science fiction film set in the same universe as the iconic Alien franchise. The story revolves around a team of scientists and explorers led by archaeologist Elizabeth Shaw and android David, who embark on a journey to distant moon LV-223. Their mission is to discover the mystery surrounding the origins of humanity.
This, of course, has the legacy it came from, which is 1979's Alien. And as everybody knows out there, Alien became a huge hit.
Right.
For several reasons. One, it gave us something that we didn't see before, which is a alien horror film that really scared the shit out of us. Right.
Yes.
So that was one of them. Two, production design on this was amazing. Because Swiss artist H.R. Giger, and here's what I would say. So we had a discussion about this in the last episode about how his
Mark
name is
decided
pronounced.
to be like, it's Giger.
Giger.
No,
but
Giger.
that's the proper Swiss enunciation of it.
No, it's not. And I'll tell you why. Because I just saw an interview with him, and the director and the reporter goes, so I need to know, how do you pronounce your name? And he goes, Giger.
Really?
Straight from the horse's mouth.
Okay.
So
A lot of people say Geiger.
So here's why, because one of his books says his pronunciations is like Geiger counter.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, so it's Geiger. But I don't know who wrote the book. So maybe they're wrong, but straight out of the horse's mouth.
Okay.
And he looked really old. I mean, this is probably
It's probably right before he passed away. A bunch
probably
of years
before
ago.
he passed away. But there's like, how do you pronounce it? And he goes, Echa Giga.
All right, there you go.
With his big big accent. But the production design on Alien was actually, honestly, the way Alien looked was because of him. His vision on that, the way that the alien looked, the way the alien ship looked, all those things really grabbed the imagination. You're like, who the hell came up with this design? Because it is insane, right?
Biomechanics.
So that was so that was one of the things. Also, Rob Cobb, another artist.
Ron Cobb, not Rob Cobb.
Ron Cobb, another artist. He was also part of the design for Alien, and so was Mobius. Remember the
there was a little bit of Mobius.
There was a little bit of Mobius in there. So you had some really great artists that are legendary nowadays that worked on that film. And of course, we got the iconic scene of the chest buster. And of course, the design of the alien, which was something that was so original from anything else that we have ever seen out there. Following that, we had, of course, the movie Aliens, and then all the other Alien movies, which honestly did not measure up after Aliens compared to the first two.
Aliens actually did very well in comparison to Alien.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like Alien 3 and Alien 4 just didn't measure up to those two.
Yeah, all those others didn't add up, as well as the Predator versus Alien movies, which would be an Alien as well in it.
Exactly. So when we heard about having a prequel to it, we all got excited because I think for years, here's what happened. I think for years, we saw some of the concept art from Giger, which showed the alien world, right? And it just looked freaking phenomenal. And when they say, hey, we're doing a prequel, we're like, hey, we're going back to that world. That's fucking awesome. I'm there. Take all my money, right?
Yeah.
But things kind of did not go the same way. And funny enough, there was a lot of comic books too that came out with some origins of what happened, and where they came from. The engineer, or what they call the pilot, the one in the original that he's just sitting at it looked like a gun turret or something like that, but they call him the pilot.
Yep. And
how alien also he looked. And all of a sudden they kind of changed that on this movie.
Yeah.
But before we get there, the one thing I would say is this. So, the cast on this is Naomi Rapace, that's Elizabeth Shaw, who she's an archaeologist. You got Michael Fassbender as David, so an android that acts as the ship's butler and maintenance man. And it's designed to be indistinguishable from humans and begins to develop its own ego and insecurities, jealousy, envy, all those things that, this is why we cannot, how can I say? We got to put a kibosh on artificial intelligence. That's it.
But yet you keep working with that Chat GPT. What's the deal?
Hold on. So this is what people
You're
don't
just
realize.
Helping it along.
No,
they need a movie with him and Miss Minutes from Loki.
You got to remember that ChatGPT is just a tool, and there's a lot of AI tools out there.
Oh yeah,
it's self-aware AI is where we're like trying to go like, dude, no, let's not do that. But other things that can help us along to make our lives a little better, I would say, or improve on how we do work, I'm all for it. It's just, I don't want that all of a sudden saying, you know what, I quit and I don't like you today. And
I turn into the Terminator, and next thing you know, Cyberdyne Systems rule the world.
Exactly. So it also stars Charlize Theron, who she's one of my goddesses, as Meredith Vickers, a Wayland corporation employee who is sent to monitor the expedition, and we later find out, spoilers, that she is the daughter of Wayland.
Right. We find out actually too that what the synopsis that Frank had gave, they talk about Naomi Rapace as Elizabeth Shaw and Michael Fassbender are leading this. It's actually Meredith Vickers that's leading the potential crew and everybody for this big, large corporate conglomerate to find this based on Wayland Yutani himself.
Really? Can we say she was really so? I mean, we're gonna get into that discussion because from what I saw, nobody was leading this fucking expedition. They were way too much hands in the pot for different reasons. So
they wanted money.
Yes and no, but we'll get into that. We'll get into that. So we have Idris Elba as Janik, who is the captain of the Prometheus. We have Guy Pearce as Peter Wayland. So the billionaire and founder of and CEO of Wayland Corporation. Logan Marshall Green as Charlie Holloway, an archaeologist and Shaw's actual love interest. Sean Harris as Fifield. Yeah, Fifield. A geologist who has become mentally unstable after many missions. I'm gonna be talking about that one too, and of
Yeah.
course, and Rafe Spall as Milburn, a biologist. Other cast members include Kate Dickey as the ship's medic, Ford Eamon Elliott, and Benedict Wong actually is in here. Too bad he wasn't, he didn't do a little bit of magic for this movie.
He was thinner in this movie too.
He's much thinner. Yeah.
Benedict Wong was actually, when he was younger in his starting career, he was a lot thinner. But hey, listen, man, I'm a robust man myself, trying to
Same here.
trying to lose weight. So, just more of us to love. That's how I see it. And there's a few other, great actors that came out on this. So this movie actually had a 73% on Rotten Tomatoes with critics and a 68% with the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You would think Alien franchise prequel being done by the original director Ridley Scott, that this thing would have been in the 80s or 90s. But we'll talk about that one too. So here's a question for you guys. So when you heard this movie coming out, what was your expectations on this movie?
So when I first heard it, I mean, it had been so long since we'd had a Alien movie. Like Alien 4 was the last one that we really had, not including the Predator versus Alien stuff, because that's
standalone
like a
movie.
separate
The
thing.
Resurrection one. Yeah.
Resurrection was the last one we had. And then this one's coming out and you're seeing like, oh, Ridley Scott's coming back. Holy shit. It's going to be it's going to have a great budget. It's going to be really high end. It's, if he's telling the story, hopefully it'll be, it'll get it back to someplace where we're enjoying these movies again.
Right.
Now, I think that him coming back was a big part of why this movie is not considered very good by a lot of people, because you built up all of that expectation. We were like, oh my goodness, it's going to be fantastic. And what we got, I actually said this before we started, is a really good science fiction movie. It'd be great if it wasn't if it wasn't supposed to be part of the Alien franchise.
I
Correct.
agree with you on that 100%. How about you, Mark?
So, yeah.
Oh, you're not finished. Go ahead.
No.
Finished.
No, I actually was finished. I just I hear silence. I want to add to it, but
go ahead, man. Yeah, man, you got the mic. Go.
No. I'm literally done, because that was my observation of it. That was my feeling when I first heard about it. That it was going to be fantastic, and it is a good movie. I'm not going to say it isn't, but again, if it wouldn't have been part of that, there's other various things that are come into it, but we're going to get into that as we go along.
Okay. And you, Mark?
Well, I started following it when they said it was in production, and I followed a lot of things. There was a lot of interviews with Ridley Scott. I was anticipating this. They said, oh, we're going to go back. We're going to see the origin of where these eggs came from, all this good stuff. And I kind of knew that they were going to, earlier on, even before we got a trailer, that it was going to be revolving around the engineers and how there are ancestors and things of that nature. And I was like, okay, I can understand it. It's building, because this was originally supposed to be a trilogy of movies.
Right.
So Prometheus, and then we're supposed to get another one. It wasn't supposed to be called Alien Covenant. And then we were supposed to get the third one. Ridley Scott invested a lot of his own personal money into what was going on with production. So and I saw a lot of stuff on TV that when they had these. So I was anticipating it. I knew that there was going to be something that was going to be flagged, but I love Ridley Scott films. So I just, I love the aspect of his films and what they come out to be. So, but also there's that fear of he's older. The man's in his 90s now.
Right.
So how much can he fit in there? His son has been doing films as well. But what I saw in the production value of how they were prepping and doing things, and you see that on a lot of the behind the scenes on the Blu-ray, I thought, okay, if anything, we get a really good sci-fi film out of this. If it's not a true alien film. it's just a history of it, and that's it. But anybody who goes in not knowing Alien will enjoy it as a science fiction film.
Right.
Those of us who are into aliens, everything that was revolved around that would be like, that was a great attempt, but that's not what we wanted or expected. At the very end, overall, I did like the movie in the theater. I bought it on Blu-ray. I followed it. I watch it on occasion. Like I said, I just love the imagery. Though I do have a little issues with some of the imagery based upon the time within Ridley Scott's worlds, because this is supposed to be before Alien.
Right.
And a lot of the technology looks way far too more advanced in comparison to what we got from Alien, which was supposed to be like a freight rigger in space, and it was budgeted and low budgeted, so you had dial switches and things of that nature. Whereas this, you have all this wonderments of what we get nowadays. Like you get a huge 3D hologram of Wayland, you get all these projection tabs and things that you see in the movie Avatar. It's too modernized. It could be a little bit more richer, but they should show it for based upon what they were going to do in a the continuation.
And I got some theories on that, but I agree partly with what you say on that part. Yeah, definitely on that. Yeah. My thought on it, when I heard about it, my thought was, again, we're going back to those concept drawings that we're going back to. We're going back to seeing Giger's design again, which I felt was not in this film. And
no, it wasn't.
And I'll talk about that in just a moment. And I honestly came out of the theater disappointed that it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Because in your mind, you build it up and all of a sudden it doesn't.
Right.
That being said, this movie visually is a stunning movie, beautifully made.
Yes.
It is just a beautiful works of art in the production design. I thought it was fantastic. But again, there was those missing elements that I felt that it didn't have. I think it confused, the audience, because you're like, so is this supposed to be the prequel to Alien? Is this supposed to be another universe to Alien? What the hell is this?
It's just another story, if you think
it's just
about
another
it.
story. And like Frank said, it's a great sci-fi film. I will give it that. It's a fantastic sci-fi film. I just don't think it measured up to what the Alien franchise would be. And when I say Alien franchise, I talk about Alien 1 and 2. After that, I don't consider those other two part of the Alien franchise. I just think that was a sad attempt to try to, but I just feel like
trying to capitalize on the franchise.
Right. And I feel like this did not do that. And hearing that Ridley Scott was going to come back and do it made me think, oh, this man is going to go back to its origins, which is a sci-fi horror film.
Correct.
Which this had little tiny elements of that.
Yeah, there were few.
There were few, but not what the first Alien did.
Exactly.
So what did you guys think of the story of this movie? Because the whole engineer thing is confusing.
You mean
it is.
Alien skin-headed giants?
Alien skin-headed giants.
That are our ancestors and have the same DNA.
Correct. And that's the part that I think like really confused me, because I'm like, so they create so here's what they make it seem. They make it seem like they came to Earth and they seeded Earth with life.
With their DNA in it. Yep.
With their DNA in it, right? So that means that life sprung up. They came, what was it? They came here maybe 200 million years ago, whatever it is. When there was finally biological life on Earth. And then after that, was the DNA engineered so it can actually produce humans? Because if you could engineer shit like, the way they do, why wait 200 million years for us to evolve? Well, they could have just fucking done that in like 100 or 100,000 years or whatever it is.
Yeah. I think they were trying to create us as like a virus, very much like the alien itself. Because I think by the time we get that in this, you see it at the very end, it was a perfected species to be a virus to worlds. And you could see that from when you see the engineer that wakes up and he basically snaps David's head off. He smacks away Wayland, and the anger out of him because it knows it's like, oh, you're a derivative version of me. You're terrible. You're the disease we try to get rid of on Earth to destroy planets with. Literally, it was like
skinhead. There you go.
He's a skinhead.
Yeah, but that's not how it went, because they basically created us I don't think they created us as a weapon, or as a disease, because honestly, the way they make it seem like, okay, we created a weapon to destroy the creations we have done, and then it just got out of hand and then it destroyed them, so at least that's what it made it seem like. I mean, this is why this movie is somewhat confusing, because you're like, okay, so why did the engineers create us?
It starts from the first scene. Like the first scene, you have no context whatsoever. This guy just shows up. He takes off his clothes. He's wearing, dude, you should have been wearing nothing, but you got a little loincloth on for whatever reason.
Yeah. Right? You wanted to see his alien schlong? Is that what it was, Frank?
I think if you're gonna freaking disintegrate, why bother having clothes on?
Yeah, he was like Dr. Manhattan in Watchmen.
But Dr. Manhattan actually did not have any
exactly.
clothes.
He was hanging schlong.
Yeah, that man was gifted. That being said, this engineer was gifted with some fucking amazing abs.
Yeah. It was a 12-pack. But he like, you have no reasoning, no knowledge of what exactly is happening here.
Yeah.
He drinks this thing, he disintegrates, he becomes part of it. You see the DNA start mingling with other things in the water, and you're like, okay. And that's the first scene. It's the start of the movie. You're sitting there, you're like,
yeah,
I'm already confused.
That's how life was created on Earth.
I mean, to me,
we
it
know
wasn't
that now.
Yeah.
Did you know that when you first saw the scene?
To me, it wasn't confusing in that part. Like, oh, you don't know why they did it. That's the whole thing. It's just like,
correct.
It's like, oh, okay, so somehow he disintegrates, so he sacrifices himself. So the DNA that I get, so that's like the whole thing. It was like, okay, so whatever you drank is supposed to dissolve you, right? But it not only dissolve him, it also dissolves his DNA, but then reconstructs it again somehow. Like you see it in the graphics, like you see his his DNA just disintegrates, but then all of a sudden it starts to like reconstitute itself again.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was it. And you're like,
exactly.
Why? Okay, so the engineers came and created life on Earth. Cool. What does that mean? And then of course they get into the whole this whole thing on like how different cultures around the world have these large beings that, so what they're saying is that the engineers have come back to visit,
to help man progress and get to a certain point.
Right.
Very much like with the Egyptians, the Aztecs.
Yeah. Egyptians, Aztecs, Mayan. As a matter of fact, I was reading somewhere on the internet that
Predators.
they mention 3 civilizations, and in the movie they say that these civilizations never had contact with each other, when 3 of these civilizations actually were part of the same, or one became the other. So whoever the historian in this movie didn't really do his research the right way, I would say. But that being said, so why would they come back, help us along, and in the end they go, well, you know what? Now we're just going to fucking destroy you.
maybe we were supposed to be slaves. Who knows? We never really got the answer at the very end.
In both movies, we didn't get an answer at all. It was just, it was kind of like, okay, so why would these engineers help humanity? And now that they are, spaceborne, now we go to them, but they're sending us not to their planet, but to the planet where they create the weapons.
Correct.
You understand? So that's the part that doesn't make sense. It's like, so
like 10 seconds of a voiceover of what exactly was happening right then could have saved a lot. You know what I mean? You'd been like,
to give us a little bit of big theory history. Maybe we were bred or created to enhance whatever they were creating with these eggs for that weapon, to create the aliens to pop out of us.
Or something. I don't know. Or, I mean, there are ways that I would change the story, and we'll get to that in the on that part of it. But that to me never made any sense. It's like, why would the engineers come to Earth, seed the Earth, and now they're gonna go back? And from what it seems, because there's a scene in the movie where they have like a star chart.
Yeah.
And all these worlds that I guess they seeded. So I guess they're going back to all these worlds to destroy it now.
Yeah.
So is there something in our DNA that they're like, shit, so here's what we figured out. So humans, we created you because we thought, hey, let's create humans. But we kind of fucked up because we did the same thing to this Earth or this planet. And they evolved into something completely different that now is a virus on this part of the universe or something like that. So we created the aliens because we're going to go back and destroy the shit we did because we fucked up. But they never say that. To them, it's more like, yeah, we created you. It's like saying you build Legos and you're proud of it. But then what do? Fucking just destroy it. Fuck it, boom, whatever. And you hit it with your G.I. Joes or whatever. You kick it, whatever. There's Legos everywhere. You're like, fuck it, we'll start over. So that's what I felt like was happening here. It was like, there's not really a lot of explanation for this movie.
Yeah.
And that part of it just didn't make sense, especially in the alien universe. And that was the one thing. Does this story make sense in the alien universe? Because I don't think it really does.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, do you guys have any opinion on that?
I think they tried to shoehorn in a lot of elements. You know what I mean? But
there's an actual representation of Giger's work in a temple form where you see the alien. And that's where I came to that conclusion of like, all right, we were created to give life to these things, to harvest for the aliens to come out of. That's where I got. And that's why when I thought, we saw the engineer snap David's head off and then go after Wayland, and I thought it was like, angered because I got woken up by these pieces of crap that we were supposed to use to make our next weapon.
But I feel like they got away from it even from the start, because the idea that the engineers were the same thing that they found in Alien, like that whole thing of them saying, well, their suit that they made up looks like this thing. Yeah. Why? If you're a humanoid being, your fucking suit should look like a fucking humanoid. Correct. Not like some giant elephant tusk with the
I'm thinking it was stolen technology.
Maybe that's a possibility. I feel like you can go ahead, you can create life, but you can't create a uniform or create a spacesuit. Yeah, that doesn't work for me.
Okay.
I kind of like if you ever read the Alien comics, the Alien comics make that the engineers I don't think they call them engineers. I can't remember exactly what they call them, but they were alien race and they look like that. That is what they look like.
Yeah, they made it seem like
to Earth like at.
Yeah, they made it seem like that was the actual look that they had. And when you actually look at the Alien movie, the skull does look like a biological skull or something like that.
Correct.
Here, and which they didn't explain again. And this could be because, you know, they're engineers, but when you first see the engineer in the beginning of the movie, you see him, you know, pretty much almost naked. In this one, you see that his suit somehow is blending with his skin.
Right.
Is that something that they evolved to, where now they're evolving the biomechanical part of it, which cool, I can accept that. And that's the one thing that I think that I said before was that this movie lacks the H.R. Giger design. They went in the direction of what I would say, making it look almost like it. But if you really Giger-esque, right?
Yeah.
But if you look at it, if you look at his books, like his art books, and you look at the way he does the whole biomechanical thing, there's a certain beauty to it. There's a certain, it's organic with just
mechanical.
With mechanical, where you go, where does one, you know, it's like it blends into the other, and you say to yourself, wow, this is amazing how they made it. He makes it seem like, was it engineered this way? Was it born this way?
It was just fluid.
It's so fluid that you are captivated by his artwork. As a matter of fact, there's a bar, and I don't know if that bar is still going on.
In Japan.
I thought it was in England or something
like
that.
No, it's in Japan.
Is it in Japan? So, and when you go in, everything is biomechanical because it's the
Harkonnen chairs that they had from Dune are there that you sit in. They have
everything.
Full doors. The bar itself is full. I have pictures of it. Actually, the Giger Museum, while Giger was alive back in the mid 90s, when I became part of the fan club, would auction off stuff on their website. So you could buy a true Harkonnen chair. You could buy a true Giger style mirror. I wish I had done that back then because they were only like $3,000 or $4,000. Now they're hard to come by.
Only, huh?
Well, back then that was a lot of money, but nowadays,
even more.
Still
so
a lot of money.
Yeah, that was my confusion on this. Is like, why did it go that route?
And they lost it too with the bishop. What we see as an alien that comes out from, it was supposed to be from Shaw, but it goes from the engineer itself, because we got this huge ass face hugger that looks sloppy from like the Suicide Squad, like the starfish that we got in Suicide Squad.
Right.
But it's too clear and too sleek. And then we get the bishop come out of the engineer at the very end, which is too flesh oriented. It's too white and doesn't have much of, it's like more of like a razor sharp teeth rather than the like a true skull style teeth that we get from the original alien and being
I understood what he did there, because he was trying to do what's called a proto-alien, so basically what it would evolve into. If you look at the deleted scenes of this movie, which I was just watching, so the character, what's his name, Charlie Holloway. Charlie Holloway, when he got infected, that at the end or in the middle of the movie, he dies and they burn him outside.
Yes.
There's a scene in the deleted scene where he has an elongated head.
Yes.
And a very thin body. And he starts looking
like the alien?
Like the alien. Compared to just a burn victim. Because Weta, Workshop is the one that did the CG for that, which looked phenomenal. Because they completed the whole scene. Like when you look at it in the deleted scenes, you're like, whoa, that's a really good scene. But in the movie, they did practical effects and makeup. And this is the one time that I would say you guys should have stuck to that other part.
Yeah.
But, that's just me. That being said, so here's a question that I had, which as I was watching this movie, I was like, I saw all the wrong things that these guys were doing. Right? Did Whalen pick the crew because they're incompetent? Because
maybe he did.
Think about this.
Maybe he did because they weren't going to ask any questions.
Well, it's cyclical. Think about it. The original Alien movie, they were picked haphazardly. Like they were just thrown together and it was like doomed to fail anyway. So
yeah, but that's different because the original Alien movie, that crew was miners.
Yes.
Right? So they weren't scientists. They weren't the best in their field. So another unanswered question was this the furthest that human beings have ever gone from Earth? Right? And it seems like it is.
Yeah.
So, and they said in the movie, they invested over $1 trillion to do this expedition, which means when you do an expedition like that, one, you're going to get yourself the best scientists you could possibly get. You're going to get yourself the best of everything you could actually get.
Yeah.
And the one person that fucking loses his shit, it's the geologist, Fifield. Yeah, he loses his shit right away. And you're like, you would think that in the process of trying to find the right candidate to go in a very long journey that was psychologically fine. But no, they find somebody that was fucked up. That made no fucking sense.
Well, he actually makes a comment too. He was there for the money. So his attitude was he was there for the money. Wayland wanted eternal life. Whatever her name is, his daughter, Meredith Vickers, wanted approval and status of her father because she wasn't born a boy. David wanted to be human. It's the toy that wanted to be a boy. And then Shaw herself felt neglected and was going through this own abandonment and look for life because she can't give life in any way.
Right.
So each character has its own little micro story that we get throughout the film, but you realize this crew is all messed up and it's doomed to fail.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because if you think about, okay, I'm going to get the best crew I could possibly get. You try to get the most stable-minded people that are just top in their field. You would think through the psychological process, you will know, okay, this motherfucker is doing this shit for the money. You're not the guy that I want.
Yeah.
Right. And he even said, or I think like too many missions has already made him, or even in the description, too many missions have already made him a little batty. That I think is a failure of the process to, weed out who's the person that you're going to bring into this. The other things that I saw, and from what I know, not because I'm personally, but I being a science fan and things like that, in any archaeological find or anything you find, you first have to preserve the scene and make sure you don't touch anything, because anything that you may touch might be important to what you are looking for.
Yeah.
They go in touching shit all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
Holloway all of a sudden is just a fucking cowboy that's like, oh, I'm going to go in and I'm going to take off my helmet. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And it's like, what the fuck just happened? And then you got Fifield. What is it? I keep messing up. Fifield and Milburn. When they find the proto face hugger that looks like a worm.
Yeah, looks like a cobra.
The biologist
makes
is
a
like,
whole lot of sense to go ahead and put your hand out,
doesn't it? It's like, come here, little boy, come here. Oh no, it's fine. Come on. And then like, you don't know what the fuck you're touching.
So
you're in an alien.
That one, that was the fuck around and find out moment.
And you would think they would have movies, but still around by then. It's like, kill it. Usually.
The point is that you as a biologist, the first thing you want to know is like, okay, we don't know if it's dangerous. We don't know if we don't know what the fuck this is. It could be poisonous. It could be toxic.
Right.
You're in an alien world, but I'm going to grab you because I feel like, I don't know, I just want a pet. Again, I was like, as I saw this, I was like, okay, so now we have a geologist and a biologist that are just dumb fucks. This is the reason why when they died, I had no.
Exactly.
You're like, you know what? You deserve what you got, you dumbasses. You really did, man.
The only people that actually had a brain and did very well for what they did was Janik and his crew.
Yes, they did because
Idris Elba and Ravel as Idris Elba as Jadak and Benedict Wong as Ravel and I was it Chance? I don't know. I forget who it was, but even still, the crew itself was very good.
Yeah, they were. At least they were like, listen, we can't let this shit get out, into space. We're gonna fucking sacrifice ourselves.
Right.
And like Charlize Theron, whose only job, I mean, this is why I was saying, who the fuck was really in charge? Because you had Wayland who wanted to get eternal life.
Well, nobody knows that he's there until the very end.
Yeah,
right.
Well,
but,
it's almost towards
but that's what I'm saying. That there was like all these fucking people that was like, okay, so Wayland was really calling all the shots.
Mm-hmm.
David was following Wayland, but not Meredith. Meredith wants to basically be in charge of Wayland Corporation. So it's like all these things, and everybody has their own little thing. I'm in charge. No, I'm in charge. I'm in charge. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And you were like, if I would have been there, I was like, okay, all you motherfuckers needs to stop. Because as soon as they landed, they're like, we got 6 hours of daylight. Oh, we're going out there. Boom, let's get on. Boom, let's do it right away. And you're like, motherfucker, when we went to like the moon, I believe we landed. And how many hours did it take for them to just leave the capsule? Just so yeah. I don't know if it was hours, but it took them a bit to go, okay, you know what? We're gonna go out there, but let's be cautious. No, they're like, boom, let's go. Fucking, all of a sudden it was like Mad Max Thunder Road going down the, the whole thing. And you're like, what the fuck, man? So those are the things that kind of confuse the shit out of me. You would think that, first time we're experiencing, another alien civilization. If you are looking for all these things, it's like, hey, they have languages on the wall. Hey, let's start taking some fucking pictures. Or let's start, transcribing this so that, they're like, no, boom, I just want to get to this point of
or rush it too, because basically they're like rushing to get all this crap. And I'm like, take your time.
Yeah.
You've already spent 2 years in hypersleep.
Yeah.
And then to get there to be like, I got to rush to get this stuff so I can get the frick back. You're going to be old anyway.
But isn't it kind of funny that in Alien, right, the miners actually had better precautions than the fucking scientists?
Yes.
In Alien, they were like, okay, let's go all be careful. Let's all get out to this shit, to this signal, because that's why they're there in the first place.
Yeah.
They start looking over the walls, scanning things like, okay, let's see what these things say. Their first thing that they get, the signal itself, they spend all the time like trying to decode it. And then they figure it out. Oh, while they're already out there, unfortunately, but
it's an SOS.
Out, it's a warning.
Yeah.
It's a warning. Maybe we should get everybody back here. And they're like, and the android is messing it up, because he's there to do it.
Yeah.
But he's like, a little bit too late. By the time we tell them, they're already out there.
Right.
We'll just call this a oopsie.
Yeah.
And then he goes and he screws them when they try to do the protocol of don't let it into the ship. And he opens the door.
Correct.
There you go.
That's why I think that movie worked so well, was because they were being so cautious.
Right.
And what people might not realize is that, and now we're going to go into what you were saying, Mark, is like, why is it that Wayland in this movie technology looked more advanced than the one in Alien?
Mm-hmm.
My answer to that is this.
Money.
It's really it's
right.
actually money, because if you think about it, so the mining ship, they're not going to have probably the latest technology. Nobody gets
it's gonna be like 30 or 40 years old.
Right. So you're looking at equipment that's old. You're looking at equipment that just, is not up to par. I mean, Wayland being the billionaire or whoever he is, of course he's going to have the latest technology and the latest stuff. It's like saying Elon Musk, right? If you have, when you look at NASA and you look at how NASA does their space modules or their space capsules and stuff, everything looks very utilitarian. It's just made for function and to, of course, in order for it to work. I remember when I first saw the capsule for the Dragon, rocket or whatever it is, and inside it was like this fucking design that you was sent to, like, I don't know, a car manufacturer and say, hey, make me something that just looks badass. Right? Why? Because Elon Musk has fucking money, and he's like, if I'm gonna make a space capsule, it needs to look awesome. All touch screens, no fucking switches. My astronauts are gonna look more like superheroes than actual. He went ahead and did a design that still worked for it to go to space, but because he had the money, he did that. So when people say, well, the technology is like, well, remember, this is a private company or whatever, doing this compared to maybe another company that says, hey, we just got mining ships out there to get resources. I don't need to get these fucking people the most comfortable fucking thing out there. The other thing is, was the original alien crew sent out there because somehow they knew that this alien ship was there?
Yeah.
I don't think it was because of that. I think that at that point, they were having their androids on every mining ship that was going out there in case, because at the end of the day, they know there's more out there than what we know.
Right.
Like the government knows that there's probably UFOs or whatever you want to say. We don't know it for sure, but I feel like the government is like, well, we know for sure. And if we told you, it would blow your mind. But
correct. But remember that they wanted Ash to bring back the samples as a for biological weapons. And
that's the initiative. You know what I mean? Like, that's the initiative of every android that is on a ship. If you come across something and you find something interesting on a planet that could be used as a biological weapon, then that initiative goes into place. I forget the number that they had there.
Right.
But and it would kind of make sense with the Alien movies, the Alien versus Predator movies, where like they had been on Earth in like the 90s or 2000s or something like that. Right.
Which, if that was the case, that, the corporations knew about this biological weapon, that it's out there, and their whole thing is like, hey, we'll put androids in every ship out there, because if you run into this species, we want this, right? Then that's great. But I just felt that this movie, while it looked beautiful, I don't know, the first Alien, like we said, just made more sense.
Right.
Than this
movie. It was well written.
I think they're both well written. It's just that for this to be in the Alien universe, it's not what we thought it was going to be or something like that. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, hey, people out there, let me know. So here's a question. What were 5 things that you thought worked in this movie?
Well,
if you have to give 5 things, if you go, okay, I'm going to pick 5 things that worked in this movie.
As far as story or overall with the movie?
Anything.
I would say the visual effects worked very much to the alien design of the ship, that Giger ship, that looked great. So the designs and look of certain appearances, at least they're a little bit more modern, but gave true to the look of what with the pilot, the whole seating where he puts in the gunner chair, which is really more of a navigation. The designs that came from Giger's work did work well with the CG that we got. So visually it looked great. The music did well for giving that eeriness. I think the music was very good in it. Showed a little bit of tension. And then, that's all I could really say is like visual effects and sound. The actors did well, but I would change a few. But that's about it.
You, Frank?
Yeah, I think the overall story, again, if you watch the movie and if you've never seen an alien movie, you would think this is a really good science fiction movie. right? Because you don't know exactly what came before. So the overall movie is written well, it's acted well, and the actual set pieces are pretty good. You do get that whole exploration vibe. They go out there, they try to go. Granted, they make stupid mistakes that you wouldn't like if you're a archaeologist or a scientist at all, you wouldn't do the things that they were doing.
No.
But again, you got to forward that plot, so they're going to go ahead and they're going to do the stupid things anyway. I feel like the actual design of, granted, what we're calling the starfish, the face hugger, the gigantic face hugger.
Oh,
that actually is kind of cool. In that, especially the way that she uses it at the end to when the engineer is coming to kill her, she basically like gets them to fight each other, and that's where that proto alien comes in. So I can see where the ambition of what they wanted to do was there, but the execution is where it falls a little bit short, in that, if you're going to make it part of the alien universe, it needs to conform more to the alien universe.
Correct.
This basically has its own thing. It's like they said, you know what? Nobody's going to give a shit about this because it's all before Alien. It's supposed to be the prequel. It's supposed to have come first. So all of these little things that we're changing, it's not going to make any difference to anybody. Yeah, it actually is. It is, because we have our own preconceptions as to what the story was supposed to be. And it's kind of like, when you watch Phantom Menace and shit, and you get like, well, Anakin Skywalker is supposed to be a pilot and a great warrior at this point, and now we get a 10-year-old kid.
Oh, whiny 10-year-old kid. So my thought on this, if I had to pick 5 things, I would say the cinematography on this was brilliant.
Yes.
Beautifully done. I think the production design on everything except the alien part of it was great. So meaning, and then when I mean production design, when you look at everything from the ships to the spacesuits, the aesthetics of the movie itself, beautifully done. As soon as you go into, of course, the alien part of it, it didn't look like anything like from the movie Alien, right? Because it was supposed to be the same ship. And me being the person that I try to catch those little details, there were certain things about this ship that were very different from the ship on LV-426.
Yeah.
Same shape and everything, but it's the design aesthetics of Giger that were not there. And that's the one thing that I wish, they had. But that being said, I think the engineers didn't bother me. I like the engineers. I didn't mind the suit being biomechanical with them, because that's kind of what I would say an evolution of them.
Yeah.
Of, hey, we're starting to evolve the biomechanical world, which that's where the Giger design should have come into play. So I like that. Sound-wise, I thought it was great. I mean, there are some really nice scenes in this movie that has some great sound that you could just, crank up your home theater system and we'll get into that. So, yeah, those are about like maybe the things that I really liked about this movie. I think we all agree, it's a beautifully made movie. I think it's a great sci-fi flick, but I just don't think it lives up to the Alien franchise, which my next question is, how does this compare to the Alien franchise movies? Where will you rank this? Not the Alien versus Predators.
I would actually,
but I am going to include the last 2, 3 and 4, which I think they're horrible.
Yeah.
Where will you rank this movie with those 4 movies? And we could include Alien Covenant, which is the second part to this.
Oh, that was even worse.
I think it goes more off the rails. Again, it would work
Right.
as just a sci-fi movie.
Standalone.
Yeah.
I would definitely put Alien first as number one, Aliens, Resurrection, and then Prometheus, then Covenant, then Alien 3 as last, because that's how bad they were.
Wow. Okay. You, Frank?
I would actually go with 1 and 2, of course. I'd actually probably put Prometheus third.
Okay.
Alien 3. No, actually Alien 4 first, Resurrection, and then Alien 3, and then Covenant kind of at the end, because again, Covenant kind of works again as a standalone movie, but if it's not supposed to be, it's supposed to be part of this whole mythos.
Yeah,
So,
right.
Yeah, that's where I'd be.
All right. And so me, it's like Aliens. I will give Prometheus the third spot because Alien 3 was hot garbage. And what was it? Resurrection?
Yeah, that was the fourth.
Resurrection tried to kind of, what I would say, bring
Mutate
back the fun of what Aliens did by trying to have a whole bunch of soldiers and stuff like that, but these were mercenaries.
Yeah,
and that part just didn't work very well. And then of course they had the alien at the end that looked half human and half, that was the most horrible fucking design.
Yeah,
it was just weird. It just weird and creepy, and I was like, no, that doesn't work. So I would put those two on the bottom, and honestly, to me, those are almost the same.
Okay.
But yeah, so me, it's Aliens, and then Prometheus. And I'll even give Alien Covenant the fourth spot. That's how bad I hate the other two.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
So that's my that would be my my thought on that. So can we safely say that this lived up to the Alien franchise? Did not?
I would say no.
No.
I mean, again, it works as a standalone sci-fi film if it had nothing to do with the Alien franchise. So there you failed.
Yeah. They also fail in a sense. If you're going to go back to what we already know from the first Alien. Go to LV-426. Don't go to LV-223 or whatever this is.
Right.
And even still, it's not even the original planet of the engineers, let alone
correct.
Because we get that in Alien Covenant because they go to the engineers' planet of all things, and it looks like a bunch of Egyptians still living out of huts. But they get blasted away by David.
There's a very interesting thing about that I heard about, but we'll get into that. So question here, because now we start getting into the, hey, why did we go to this fucking movie to see it? Did the trailer work? Did the trailer, like when we saw the trailer, I mean, to me, I saw the trailer and I was fucking excited. Like it actually got me even more pumped. So the trailer did a fantastic job of promoting this picture to me. I don't know what you guys thought about it.
I really was interested because actually I was doing home theater installations in people's homes when that thing launched, and it was right around the holidays, I believe, too. It was really cold, wet, and snowy. And I set it up and I went on to YouTube, and boom, there it was. And I was like, I can't wait, because it had the same elements of screechy noise to introduce certain, and it would be splash scenes, I would say, like in the original Alien, because it's a Ridley Scott movie and he was going to give it with the same effect. Like you got to see a distorted version of Fifield in one point of it. You get to see the ships. You get to see the alien ship at one point when it's rolling in one of the trailers too.
Right.
So it gave me all the feels of like, oh, I really want to see this. I want to see this. And then when you get to the movie, it's like, this is not exactly what I was thinking of. I would love to have seen, kind of like how Starship Troopers was. You see a horde of aliens. I want to see a horde of aliens charging
That'd be
people,
awesome.
or like it should have been, instead of LV-426, we go to the
Right.
original planet, you know?
It's funny, believe it or not. When I saw it, I got excited about it, and I was like, oh, okay, so we get back to the origins. Again, my whole thing was that I just thought there was going to be a different look to it and a different story behind it, because we already read the comic books, and the comic books did a fantastic job on that. There's
Yes.
just so much stuff that they did for Alien. Dark Horse Comics.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Marvel Comics now has and I've read some of the new Marvel stuff, and some of the stories on Marvel for Alien are fantastic also.
Yeah. They
So
also had the unofficial Alien 3 script put to comic form, where you saw Hicks and everybody, and even Newt after the events of Aliens, and that missing script that is really, really good and should have been Alien 3.
Yeah, but the problem with that was that the space station was made out of wood.
No, not that one. I'm talking about after the events of Aliens, they do wake up, and they wake up back on Earth. But
no, of course, they had stuff like that where now Newt is actually older, and then they had all these great stuff in there, and again, I think they messed it up on that.
Yeah.
What did you guys think? I mean, the movie poster was, I thought so. The original movie poster for Aliens was basically just an egg.
Yeah.
Right.
That was kind of cracked.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it was cracked over brownies or something like that. Like a tray of brownies. It was just crazy.
Yeah, it was like brownies cut up to make it look like terrain.
It was such a great, I mean, that thing just kind of like, I don't know what this is. Right. So when you look at the poster on this, it's basically a face. Right. So they have several posters. The IMAX version had a face with one of the astronauts shining a light up to it, like he just discovered it in the dark, right?
Like big
which I was
monolith.
Like, and same thing with like some of the other ones where it's just one lone figure basically in front of this very large stone head, which looks human. Mm-hmm. And as a matter of fact, the one in 3D, the one they did in 3D, is the crew you see the crew on the ground looking towards, again, the big head, but now there's a field of those cylinders that were in the movie. And that's the one thing we didn't touch upon, is those cylinders in the movie are basically the substitute to the alien eggs.
Yes.
Right. The first movie, but I didn't think that worked well. But then again, the alien eggs, of course, is a byproduct of what I guess these cylinders had inside, or whatever material they had inside.
It is a representation of the eggs, but it's where the goo is that gets into people that creates the face huggers. And then the face huggers, in a sense, wind up coming out of eggs that are laid by the aliens, because it had to evolve in a certain way. That's why we have the Bishop style alien, or that proto alien, and we got that super duper large face hugger that attacks the
right. And then the international poster had the entire crew looking like they're running away from the exploding alien ship, because that's the actual,
which I think that's the better one.
That's actually pretty good. If you look at the DVD releases, and I'm going to talk about that in just a moment, because there was this really cool thing they did with the DVD. But if you look at the DVD releases, they have the typical 3 heads on the top and then the ship on the bottom with the title in the middle. They also had one that looked just like the poster, with the astronaut looking up towards a stone head. And then the one that's pretty much out there all the time is the one with the face of the engineers. That one came out as a steelbook version. And then they had a few others, with little changes here and there. But I have that steelbook, which looks really nice and stuff like that, which was pretty cool. So here's the one thing that I don't know if you guys are aware about. Back when Blu-rays first came out, one of the big advantages of Blu-ray was going to be that it could be more interactive. So for people who really love movies, they had all these features that you could do with a movie. So you could do a second camera. So they were actually some directors filming with a second camera so you could get a different view of the scene. I would say most directors did not want to do that because they were taking away from their vision. It's like, why would you want me to do a second camera when this is the vision I want for my film? So very, very few people did it. And it was interesting because you go in there with your remote control and it gave you that option and you look at it and all of a sudden we're now watching the scene from a different camera view. But Prometheus had this thing that a lot of movies were supposed to do, which is called second screen. And second screen was supposed to, as you're watching the movie on your iPad, because once you sync the whole thing on your iPad, as the movie's going, you get information of the movie of what's going on, but you also get behind the scene little pictures and things like that. So you are basically, it's very interactive where you're getting these, all these behind the scenes stuff. And it was done with very few movies. I liked
mainly
it.
because only people like us are going to be into those things. Regular people.
That was the problem. So the problem was that only cinephile, and not even cinephile. I heard cinephiles like, no, I don't want to be fucking interacting with an iPad while I'm watching a movie. I want to watch the movie. I don't want to fucking all of a sudden, be with this iPad and doing all this shit. So I understood that. It was just a cool technology that they did, which I was like, oh, that's a way that movies were evolving, but they just never went there.
Right.
And this was one of those because Terminator also had it. So Terminator 2 also had the second screen stuff. And when it first came out, which was pretty cool. So like DVDs were supposed to have all these really cool technologies where you got the second screen, you got the different camera views. I don't know if you guys remember that, and I still have some, but some of those Blu-rays had so much behind the scenes stuff in it.
Hours upon hours.
Hours upon hours.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I have, like a 2-hour thing on the making
very rare
of this.
that you watched it all.
But the thing is that for us cinephiles, definitely we love going in there and watching the behind the scenes, or hey, how did they do this special effect?
Making of how it got started in production
they
stills.
would have
Yeah.
They would have stills on all the concept art, and it was just hours upon hours of just concept art.
Mm-hmm.
And now they don't have that anymore. They'll have very little bits here and there.
Yeah, which is also, if you get it on let's say Apple TV or your iTunes, it's the same stuff you do get on the 4K Blu-ray content. That are extras.
but it's not that much anymore.
Not even commentary tracks too, with certain
commentary
stuff.
tracks. They still do. I noticed that they still do commentary tracks.
Yeah,
and they'll
but
still do.
Yeah, they don't do
deleted
it on
scene.
iTunes.
Right? They do.
They do. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
If on iTunes, if you get the screen that looks like the DVD with the menus, you can choose. You could sometimes choose that option if it has it.
Okay.
The problem is that a lot of people don't. I would say 99% of the people out there don't fucking do the commentaries, don't do the behind the scenes stuff, don't do the deleted scene stuff. There's a lot of people out there that just don't give a shit when it comes. They just want to watch the movie. Once they're done, they don't want to dive into the movie itself, which is a shame. So, of course, a lot of these studios stopped doing that because, of course, I'm sure there was a dollar value to doing something like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And now with, of course, the whole thing on DVDs and stuff like that not being sold by Target, Walmart, and Best Buy, that's going to be done even less, which is going to be a shame. But it is the times we're in. So
slow death of physical media.
Exactly. What did you guys think of the score? I wasn't a big fan of it, but you say that you guys liked it.
It showed tension where it was needed in specific scenes. I wouldn't say the overall score was enhancing in any way by sitting alone.
Right.
But it just enhanced what you needed to with the visual that you're getting with the throw, the tension, the thrillness of what's going on, the suspension.
Right.
That's that kind of thing.
Okay.
It's a passable score. It's not one of the ones that we would be doing a retrospective on, sitting there going, well, let's listen to every crack in this one. No,
Oh, I could listen to
no.
this over and over again alone by
No,
itself.
and,
Oh,
and
we won't be able to do it.
and I agree with that. Like it was movie that it was what is it, a soundtrack that served the purpose,
Correct.
but
Right.
it wasn't a soundtrack that, I don't know, felt like it drove the movie. So when you listen to the first Alien, that eerie soundtrack by Jerry Goldsmith
Mm-hmm.
is phenomenal on that. The one by James Horner for Aliens
Oh yeah.
really drove the movie and really gave you that intensity. And
Yeah.
when you listen to it, you can literally listen to it and go back to that scene and go, oh yeah, I remember this scene. I remember this. I was trying to listen to it, and I'm like, I don't know what scene is this unless I look at the title.
And when you think of a scene in your mind, like let's say the aliens and Ripley just takes over the APC.
Literally where I went.
And you could hear the score
Correct.
in your head as that's in your mind's eye. You could hear it. You know, bum, 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 bum. And then you could hear the crashing and see it in your mind. Whereas
Mark singing this is just like listening to the actual soundtrack.
No, it's not.
Well, we knew that, but you know, we were trying to be kind.
Yeah, be kind, rewind.
Yeah. So what are 5 things that you would change? I mean, look, there's a lot of things to change, but what are 5 like major things that you would change in this movie? I have my 5. Actually, I only have like about 4, but I would tell you, I mean, I'll tell you mine first. So mine, of course, going back to the original Alien design that Giger did. The biomechanical part that he did. I think the ship inside should have been that. I think the aliens that they presented should have been a version of that. That's the one thing I think I would have done that really would have tied it into the first movie a lot. I would have placed the original planet on LV-426.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I would have just been like, all right, this is where it started. Let's go back to that. Or if not that, make it seem like at the very end, whatever ship ends up there or something, make it where it's just the ship itself on LV-426. There's a reason for it there. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Not that it maybe a crash land, or maybe because honestly it showed it, what it seemed like was that the pilot was trying to make sure that this alien infestation was not going to get out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's what I don't know. I would have just put it on that. I would have done more the sci-fi horror. So if he was going to do a trilogy on this, I would have kind of followed the same model that he did with the first one being a sci-fi horror, second one being sci-fi action all the way. Right. And then the third one, he would have had to figure out, because again, the other two movies in the end just sucked. So he would have had to do something better. And then the other thing I would do is definitely change the story. So I would have done it more where the engineers. So the way I would have done it was that the engineers in the story, the engineers created the xenomorphs, which they did. And somehow
David did. I'm kidding.
Well, yeah, they made it seem like David is the one that did it now. That's the whole thing. That, again, this is another movie that you're like, that does not make sense with the first movie. And somehow they evolved to become, they created the xenomorphs, but they evolved to become a weapon on its own, or a species on its own that becomes a weapon. And the engineers have to now try to stop them. And as humans go to discover their origins, what they discover is that the engineers, being scientists, yes, I created you guys, but I also created this thing, which I thought was just going to be a species, but it turned out to be way worse than what it is. And we're trying to prevent it from reaching other worlds. And somehow have the humans and the engineers look for a way to try to stop it. And maybe that's how an engineer said, well, the only way that I can stop this is by marooning this thing in this planet. But of course, people forgot about it. And in the first Alien, they found that planet. So I don't know. That's at least somehow, what I would do as opposed to, hey, engineers, they created us. But, they got bored of us. So now they're gonna destroy us. So at least that's my take on it. I mean, what will you guys change on this film?
I would completely change it around to get it back to where we needed to, which was the origin of LV-426. Now, the story could start out as we on Earth send a deep sea space probe that is able to scan everything through, let's say, LV-426 that falls on this planet. We see the crashed spaceship, but it's a bunch of the engineers having to deal with the aliens that they've already created, and that's how we know about it, and that's why that probe comes back and we get all that information. But the story would revolve about them being in a survival mode of trying to get away from these things. That's why you only have one engineer in the pilot suit or in that pilot thing,
right?
And it would be not the engineers that we see in this particular movie. It would be like the elephant looking kind of people, and it would be large too. Plus that, and then we get, obviously it would be like almost like a silent film or dubbed film because we're following these aliens, but at least you would see the aliens as they are, and then you see these giant creatures dealing with them. And then maybe in subtitle form, you could state, it's like, why did we do this? Oh, we were trying to conquer that planet. And our own weapon is attacking us. And then it could go through that whole story. But honestly, like we said before, it's a standalone film.
Yeah.
This movie.
And the one thing I forgot to include was that I just got a brain fart.
I thought you froze for a second.
Shit, I just had it in my head, but you know what? I'll probably remember it. Frank, what will you do?
So I kind of do what Mark is doing, except that I started off with screw the engineers as they are presented in Prometheus.
Yeah.
Like our version of the engineers again would be exactly what they showed in Alien. This is an alien race. This is what they look like when they're in their ship and stuff like that. That elephant style face,
right? And
gigantic. But for me, it would have basically been like, okay, the first Alien on LV-426, because I would definitely take it back there as well. Like we know Hadley's Hope was pretty much destroyed, that area there. But Hadley's Hope is not where the ship is. The ship, as far as we know, could have escaped that explosion and is still there.
Right.
But this is a prequel, so it's supposed to be before any of that anyway, so whatever. Somebody goes ahead and finds the ship. Now, my idea for the engineers was that they are a spacefaring race and they managed to find this alien organism. And they said, just like we were thinking, oh, this is a perfect species to use as a weapon, as long as you can keep control of it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So this original ship is flying to some planet that they're going to go ahead and take over. But they're going to drop off a bunch of aliens on it to take care of the indigenous life first. And he gets like a flat tire. That's why he ends up crashing on LV-426.
Yeah, well, that's what I said. Yeah, it's like it just something happens and it crashes.
So your ship has a flat tire?
Yeah.
Okay. It's actually supposed to be shaped like a tire. That one piece that's missing.
That is true.
That's why it crashed.
Okay. That makes sense. Actually, I remember now what I was saying. I would have also brought back the older technology look from the first movie. Yeah. Not as much because, again, we know that it's a private company and stuff like that, but I wouldn't have gone that far the way they did it.
Yeah, that was a little bit
again, it still looks beautiful. I just think that I would have bought some of that old industrial,
like flying on a private jet.
Well, yeah, but old industrial look still be there,
right?
Or at least show some of that in something else. Show that, hey, Wayland is at the forefront of technology, but some of these other companies are not. So show some of that so we could at least go, oh, I could see why the difference in technology and stuff like that. But
because even the Marines didn't have that kind of technology by
exactly.
aliens.
I mean, it's just, so that was my fifth one that I forgot.
Government stuff,
Okay,
man.
go
stuff
ahead,
is
man.
never going to be. All right, so they go back to LV-426. Whatever the reasoning, like I feel like in Prometheus, the actual set pieces in the cave or in the inside of the ship, they work. Like the designs of those cylinders, okay, they could be a little bit more alien, but
yeah,
they definitely are. They show that they're there for a reason, and that's actually another reason why it doesn't work as part of the Alien franchise, because as a standalone sci-fi movie, okay, yeah, I expect to find alien cargo, and it's not going to look like our cardboard boxes or steel container or something like that. It's going to look maybe something like this. So just redesigning the entire like concept of the engineers and making it where it more conforms to the actual aliens universe would be the thing that I would do.
Right.
I would definitely have that there. I would have people who don't make stupid decisions, which granted, you need to have something happen. But if you have it where the aliens are like they are in Alien, you don't really have to do anything other than stupidly look inside of the damn egg when it opens up, It's something similar. They tried to do something similar to that with them finding the little freaking the worms,
right?
And oh wait, yeah, it was a bad idea. But looking into the egg does not seem as stupid as putting your hand out to this stupid worm that all of a sudden opens up its sides like a goddamn cobra, and you're like, damn, maybe that's a warning.
Exactly, man. No, I completely agree with that. So I don't know. Again, I think there was just a lot of missed opportunities in this. And don't get me wrong,
yeah.
I think like Ridley Scott is a freaking genius when it comes to his stuff. And as old as he is, listen, he's still making great movies. I can't wait to see Napoleon, which is coming out, I think, at the end of this year.
It actually looks interesting.
It looks very interesting, and the man has done some phenomenal work out there. Again, this movie, I just didn't think it lived up to the Alien franchise world. I think I saw where he was going with it.
Right.
If the second movie would have explained more or expanded on that more, that would have been great. But the second movie got derailed to something completely different.
Oh, yeah.
Which that's where I was like, whoa, okay, so what's going on with this part of the franchise that doesn't match?
It just makes it even more confusing.
Makes it more confusing and stuff like that. So
yeah,
out of this cast, if you had to change somebody in this cast, the whole cast, part of this cast, who would you change?
I have a couple that I would change up.
Go ahead.
I would definitely change out, instead of Noomi Rapace playing Elizabeth Shaw, I would do Kate Beckinsale.
Okay, why her?
I don't know. I think we would have gotten a completely different view of her. A little bit. Kate Beckinsale, I think, projects a lot of strongness. I don't know if it's because of the vampire films that she did that I like, but and then instead of Fassbender as David, I would probably do Alexander Skarsgård, because I think he could actually do a little bit more sinister, but he has the same kind of feature and look as Fassbender at times.
Right.
That's the only two that I would actually change.
Those are the only two?
Yeah.
How about you, Frank?
I don't think that there's anything wrong with the actual actors themselves.
You gotta change somebody, man. Come on.
Gotta change somebody. Shoot. Let's see.
That's why it's called Fantasy Picks Movie Edition. Sometimes we just want to say, hey, what if this person would have been
you could change out Patrick Wilson's portrayal of Shaw's father with somebody else. Who would you do?
I definitely wouldn't change Naomi. I wouldn't change Fassbender. I might change the actor who played Fifield, Sean Harris.
Okay.
I think that, if you're gonna be an idiot about things, make them really idiotic. Make it like it's who's it? The actor who played in Aliens versus Predator, the one who played the archaeologist in that one,
Right?
where he's from Train Spotting.
Oh yeah,
you know who I'm talking about?
yeah, I know the redheaded guy.
I think
he's Scottish. Yeah.
Yes, if you put him in that part,
Right.
that would have been fantastic.
My thought is I probably would have put Emily Blunt in Shaw's position.
Okay.
I think she just has a much more bigger range as an actor than this one. I think I also would have put maybe like Kate Beckinsale in the Charlize Theron part, even though I think Charlize Theron was actually good because she knows how to play a sinister person really well.
Oh yeah.
But Kate Beckinsale, I think, would have done also a great job on that. If not, maybe something like Sandra Bullock, because Sandra Bullock, see her in a different eye instead of just being like the nice person. Who knows if she could play a
she portrayed evil before.
Has she really? I
never
seen
Minions.
Her. Okay, that being said, in terms of Wayland, so here's what's interesting. A lot of people ask, why did Guy Pearce get into all this makeup when you didn't see Guy Pearce? And what people didn't realize that there was like a promotional or viral promotions out there with Guy Pearce, a younger version of Wayland being played by Guy Pearce, right?
Yeah.
99% of the people didn't see that. I think.
Right.
I would have put Lance Henriksen.
Well, Lance Henriksen actually was in
Aliens versus Predator.
Alien versus Predator.
Predator, yeah.
Right. He was playing Wayland, yes.
And I thought that was a really awesome choice. Why? Because of Bishop. You could see where he probably made Bishop in his own,
likeness
and stuff like that. So I think him being older now would have played a good, because he is, playing the part of an older person. I think it would have played fine with that.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't know, there's something about Lance Henriksen's acting, especially when it comes to doing some sinister shit like this, where it comes off much better than I think what Guy Pearce did.
Yeah.
I think, at least for me. Idris Elba, I think he was fine in that. If I had to change him, I probably don't know who I would change him with, but I like Idris Elba. But yeah, I think that would have been my change there. So those actors there, I think, would have brought a different type of feeling to the movie.
Yeah.
Especially with the plot that I was going for. I think something like that would have been really cool. So
yeah, but at the end of the day, that's what you'd have to change. You'd have to change the overall plot. If you just change the actors and give them the exact same thing,
it's the same
all
movie.
The same director.
Correct.
It's the same movie.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But remember, sometimes actors bring a certain thing to a movie that you're like, holy shit, if it wasn't for that actor, I don't think this movie would have worked. Like, honestly, Sigourney Weaver did such a phenomenal job in Alien, and she was not, I think she was a tertiary character or something like that in the movie, but turned out to be the heroine at the end.
She's not supposed to be the main character in that one.
Right. But because of that, it worked fucking fantastic. I mean, there's just certain things. It's like saying Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones. It's very hard to see anybody else as Indiana Jones. If we had to, fantasy cast him, are there others? Sure, but it's never going to be the iconic Harrison Ford or the iconic Indiana Jones that we know.
Yeah.
It's just going to be a different version of that Indiana Jones. And who knows? It might be even better, or it definitely might be worse. but it's just a different look. So I think sometimes an actor can bring something to a movie that other actors couldn't probably bring. Maybe some actors just didn't have their shit together that
And in some cases, that's the death of a franchise. Like with Shia.
Shia.
They tried to hand it off.
You know what? You know what gets me about that guy? He's a good actor. He's a very good actor.
Yeah,
it's he's just it goes off to do his own shit and sometimes open his mouth and you're like, you fucked it up again, dude.
It's his dad, man.
He's worse than Ezra Miller.
Another fucker who's actually really good. He's actually a good actor, but yet it's just sometimes these great fucking actors that
genius actors
that do stupid shit that you're like, why?
Or what's his name from Seven?
Who? Oh, Kevin Spacey.
Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
Look, Kevin Spacey. You have
for a minute there, I was like Brad Pitt.
What is it? Mel Gibson.
Mm-hmm.
All of them do some stupid shit that you're like, come on, dude. If you were a bad actor, I'd be like, you know what? Whatever. We won't see you again. But you all of a sudden, you make us want to care for you. You make us want to say, hey, I want to see more stuff from this person. And then you all of a sudden you hear, and this person said racial slurs or had kids in the basement, trapped for months.
Well, that's actually kind of on us because we mistake the characters they play for being the people that they are.
Yeah.
Realistically, they're humans.
And we glorify a lot of these people too.
We do. Yeah. We definitely do. And I think that, and unfortunately, this industry with Hollywood or filmmaking is notorious. It sometimes treats people so bad or puts so much pressure on people that we don't realize that they're actually human beings. Oh, and by the way, congratulations to all actors because the actors, guild strike is over. So I should have said that in the beginning of the podcast. But yeah, finally they could get back to work. A lot of people feel that, it probably ruined a little bit of a 2024 schedule, which I'm sure it did.
Oh, yeah.
But from what I hear, they a lot of them got things that they wanted to get. They didn't get everything they want, of course, but that's a
successful negotiation. So
correct. So last but not least, what will you use as a home theater demo for this? There were several parts, I think, especially with the ships.
Yeah.
Landing. I think that was actually pretty cool. But the other part that I kind of like was when those little probes that they put into the caves that start to
his little wolf pack.
You can actually hear, like, if you have a nice surround sound system, you can actually hear it in different speakers, and it sounds really cool.
Yeah.
And then of course the alien ship at the end when it was falling,
that was what I was going to say.
The sound design on that is like, if you crank it up, man, that thing will you're like, oh, this is serious.
Yeah.
So those are mine there.
Yeah, I have to agree. That was the one I was thinking about, was when the spaceship crashed after Idris Elba and his crew destroyed, and then it just falls to Earth and it rolls, and then you see Shaw running.
Gave it a flat tire.
I like the little crunch that you hear when Charlize Theron gets
crunched.
Rolled over. Yeah. There's a little
squish.
But yeah, no. So yeah, that's our actual, review on the movie Prometheus, a movie that I think what we all felt was it lacked, when it came to the Alien franchise, it lacked what we thought it should be. But, the expectations for us were just not met. Overall, it's a great sci-fi movie, and I think it's visually it looks stunning. Sound design, it's great. Production design is pretty good, with the exception of some of the Giger stuff missing there. Other than that, the story being in the same alien universe didn't make sense as a prequel.
Yeah.
Especially when you made a second movie after that still didn't make sense with the rest of the Alien franchise. Other than that, I mean, yeah, I think it's gotten the score. It got the score in Rotten Tomatoes for a reason. People did like it. Again, I just didn't think it lived up to it, and I think they could have been done better. And I don't think Ridley Scott is going back to this at all. It's going to take, I think, a reboot of this entire franchise, which will be hard to try to say, "Hey, I'm going to redo the original Alien movie," or maybe this is just something that we should just let it go. we try.
They're never gonna let that go.
Well, there's certain.
They're never gonna let that go because no matter what movie it is that they've made, it more than likely made some money. And this one did. It didn't make as much as they thought it was going to.
No, but it recovered.
But it definitely made money.
It made them some money, but probably not the money that they're looking to do. And especially in today's Hollywood, this movie making 400, what was it?
400 million.
403
million. They would have considered this movie a bomb.
Yes.
But then they would have just said, I know that it costs 130 million, but yeah, no. And plus with probably with that, because this budget, I don't know if it was with advertising or not. I doubt it. This movie probably came in somewhat even. And that's why this movie is like, nope, this is probably not the movie. And I think, I don't know, I mean, when we do Alien Covenant, which we will at some point, we'll look into the numbers on that and things like that. But this is a movie that, if you think about it, there are two movies that were done very well, or two franchises that started very well. Alien with the first movie. It had a sequel that was, some people argue that is better than even the first movie.
Right.
Yeah.
But then you had two other movies that failed. Then you have Predator, which the first movie was a fun fucking movie. Great, low budget, but it just blew our minds on how great it could be. They took that concept, made it into Predator 2, which did some money in the box office, but because Arnold Schwarzenegger wasn't in it, didn't capture the fun of the first movie, I think. And then after that, every Predator movie after that just sucked. And then they tried to combine both because they saw that they had success in a comic book, that when they bought both franchises together, those sold very well. And then they put it on the screen and it's like, nah, that didn't work.
Yeah, but that sold really well because you had a really good story in the first Aliens versus Predator.
Absolutely.
And they tried to do it to a certain extent in that movie, but they freaking missed the mark. If you'd have done it exactly the way, or it doesn't have to be shot for shot, like every panel matching, but stick to the heart of the story. What happens in that story is exciting.
Yeah.
And works. What they did kind of works.
Yeah, but it just wasn't
not
the same.
as good as that story.
No, it's not as good as the story. And then every Predator movie that came after that, every Alien movie that came after that just did not measure up to the originals. And it's just very hard to measure up to those legendary movies. And to try to really remake those movies or relaunch the franchise, it's gonna be hard. It's not to say that it can't be done. There are times that some filmmakers, all of a sudden, you're like, holy shit, this was better than the original. You never thought it was going to be as good. But sometimes it's not. So, and it's been very hard to capture that magic. Who knows? So I think this is a franchise. They really need to let this thing go for the next 20 years. Let people forget about the other ones and do something. Sometimes you just got to let something go and say, listen, we'll get back to it. It's just not going to work right now. Because what we're going to do is we're going to exhaust people so much to it that then they'll never get back to it at all. They're like, yeah, we tried 20 movies. It still didn't work. It's never going to work. Boom, done. It's like, let us sleep for a while. Let us crave it. Let us go, remember that movie 10 years ago from this? And boom, there's one. Holy shit. You get excitement back in there. And that's the one thing that some of these movie studios don't realize. Sometimes, dude, let it sleep for a while. You just
can't do Exorcist Believer. How about that, huh?
Oh, I heard that was bad. So
I've yet to watch
I
it.
heard it is really bad.
yeah, funny. I have a friend of mine that she saw it and she goes, "Oh, I liked it a lot," and I was like, and then she goes, "But she goes, probably for your cinephile taste, it probably sucked, right?" And I'm like, I haven't even seen it, but probably so. Like it kind of felt a little cunty when she said that.
All right, so disclaimer, the views of Robert are not the views of all of us here.
So that being said, I'm glad she doesn't listen to this. That being said, yeah, this has actually been our show. I want to thank Frank and Mark for coming on, and I want to thank everybody else out there for listening to us. And if you have your choice of what movie or what you would do with this movie, what ideas you would have had, or what direction it would have gone that would have made this movie better, let us know. We're on Facebook on Fantasy Picks Movie Edition. We're also on Instagram, and you can also reach us at fantasypicksmovieedition@gmail.com. Once again, thank you everybody for coming on, and we will catch everybody the next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.